Canada is changing fast. Jobs lost, homes gone, crime on the rise, and a transformation no one in power wants to talk about. Is this growth or a takeover? Setting the scene. Canada has always been a country built on immigration. From the earliest waves of European settlers to refugees fleeing war in Vietnam, Syria, and Ukraine, immigration has shaped not only Canada's economy, but its very identity. The country prides itself on multiculturalism, enshrined in law since 1971, and today more than 1 in 4 people in Canada was born outside the country. But in recent years, one group in particular has been at the center of both praise and controversy: Indian immigrants, particularly from the states of Punjab and Gujarat. This isn't just a gradual demographic change, it's an unprecedented wave. In 2024, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, approved over 382,000 temporary resident permits for Indian nationals, making up 45.8% of all permits issued that year. Even in 2025, despite tighter visa rules, India still leads by a large margin. Cities like Brampton, Ontario, and Surrey, British Columbia, have been transformed. Walk through certain neighborhoods and you'll find entire commercial blocks dominated by Indian businesses. Grocery stores stocked with South Asian spices, restaurants offering authentic Punjabi thalis, clothing shops selling saris and sherwanis. For some residents, this is a vibrant reflection of diversity. For others, it feels like a cultural takeover. Local politics has also shifted. In Brampton City Council, for instance, multiple members are of Indian origin, reflecting the community's electoral strength. Supporters call this democracy in action, communities electing leaders who represent them. Critics argue it risks creating ethnic bloc politics that prioritize the needs of a specific community over the broader population. This transformation sparks 2 contrasting narratives. One sees it as Canada living up to its multicultural ideals, a welcoming place for hard-working newcomers chasing a dream. The other warns of cultural displacement, where long-time residents feel like strangers in their own cities. The truth likely sits somewhere in the middle, and that's what we'll explore in this video. Job market impact. Employment is one of the most sensitive points in this discussion. Many Canadian-born job seekers say they've faced closed doors, especially in industries dominated by tight-knit Indian professional networks. In trucking, logistics, and certain sectors of tech consulting, job postings often circulate informally within community WhatsApp groups before they ever appear publicly. Some Canadian job applicants share stories of sending out dozens of resumes, only to be interviewed by hiring managers who immediately ask about language fluency in Punjabi or Hindi, even for jobs where it's not strictly necessary. While defenders say language skills help serve certain communities, others view it as a subtle filter to hire their own. But here's the counterpoint. Many Indian immigrants point out they faced similar exclusion when they first arrived, struggling to get interviews because Canadian employers wanted Canadian experience. Building networks within their community, they say, was a survival tactic, one that any group would use under similar pressures. The impact, however, is undeniable. Statistics Canada data shows unemployment among Canadian-born workers in certain immigrant-heavy regions is higher than the national average. In Brampton, for example, youth unemployment has been a persistent challenge. While no study directly links this to Indian hiring practices, the correlation fuels the perception. The fair conclusion? Hiring bias can cut both ways, and addressing it means pushing for transparent, merit-based recruitment across the board. That's not just a Canadian versus Indian issue, it's a fairness issue for everyone. Housing crisis and discrimination. Housing affordability is perhaps the most emotionally charged issue in Canada today. The average home price in Brampton is around $900,000 as of mid-2025, according to RE, Max and WOWDUA reports, making it almost impossible for many first-time buyers to enter the market. Local residents often point to cash offers from Indian buyers, sometimes backed by family wealth overseas, as a major driver of price inflation. It's not uncommon for a Canadian-born buyer to lose a bidding war to an Indian family offering tens of thousands over asking no conditions. This isn't illegal, but it does leave a sour taste for those who feel shut out. Real estate professionals quietly acknowledge that some sales are kept in the community, sellers choosing buyers they know through cultural or family ties. But this isn't unique to Indian Canadians. Similar patterns have been documented in Italian, Chinese and Portuguese enclaves for decades. What's different now is scale. The Indian community's rapid growth means this internal market has far more influence. Counterpoint: immigrant investors aren't the sole cause of Canada's housing crisis. Tight supply, foreign investment from multiple countries, low interest rates until recently, and zoning restrictions all play a role. Blaming one group risks oversimplifying a national crisis. That said, perception matters. When young Canadians see friends and family losing out on homes repeatedly to buyers from one dominant community, frustration turns into resentment. And resentment, if ignored, can turn into social division. Crime concerns. No community is immune to crime, but certain high-profile cases have drawn attention to Indo-Canadian organized crime. The RCMP has linked some gangs in British Columbia and Ontario to drug trafficking, extortion, and even politically motivated violence. A 2024 report by Public Safety Canada highlighted concerns about Indian government agents allegedly collaborating with criminal networks to target Sikh activists on Canadian soil. These incidents are alarming. In Surrey, several shootings have been tied to gang rivalries involving Punjabi Canadian groups. In Brampton, police have investigated extortion schemes targeting local business owners, many of whom are Indian themselves. It's critical to stress these crimes are committed by individuals, not entire communities. Many Indian Canadians are just as concerned, if not more, about these criminal elements because they damage the reputation of the whole community. Community leaders have launched anti-gang programs and youth mentorship initiatives to steer young people away from crime. The reality is that crime statistics can be weaponized in political debates. While gang-related incidents have risen in certain regions, the overall violent crime rate in Canada remains far below that of the US. Still, local spikes matter to the people living there, and acknowledging them honestly is part of building trust. Social and cultural shift culture is the most visible and often most personal area of change. In Brampton, Diwali celebrations fill the streets with lights, music and dancing. In Surrey, Vaisakhi parades draw hundreds of thousands. For participants, these events are a source of pride. For some long-time residents, they feel like a sign that Canadian traditions are fading. In schools, Punjabi language programs are expanding to meet demand. Critics argue that resources for French, Canada's second official language, are being neglected in these areas. Supporters counter that language inclusion strengthens community ties and reflects demographic reality. Restaurants, shops and public spaces now often cater primarily to Indian tastes. While this brings new flavors and products to Canadian cities, it can also make non-Indian residents feel excluded, especially if service is conducted primarily in Punjabi or Hindi. But culture has always been in flux in Canada. Italian cafes in Toronto's Little Italy, Chinese New Year parades in Vancouver, Greek festivals in Montreal. All of these were once seen as foreign before becoming part of the Canadian mosaic. Whether Indian cultural dominance will follow the same path depends on how inclusive or insular the community chooses to be. Closing. So is Canada evolving or disappearing? Is this the price of open borders and mass immigration? Or is it simply a new chapter in our nation's history? The truth is complex. Indian immigration has brought undeniable economic contributions, cultural vibrancy, and political engagement. But it has also raised real concerns about fairness in hiring, affordability in housing, public safety, and the balance of cultural influence. If Canada wants to avoid division, these issues must be discussed openly, without fear of being called racist, and without painting an entire community with one brush. This isn't about being anti-immigrant, it's about ensuring the Canada of tomorrow works for everyone who calls it home. If you believe Canadians deserve to have this conversation openly, hit the like button so more people see it. Comment below, is this growth or a takeover? And subscribe for more stories they'd rather you didn't hear, because here we talk about the truth.